Imagine starting each day before sunrise, your body aching in places you no longer notice, the air heavy with mist no matter the season. You drag your feet on the packed earth floor of a house without comfort, only necessity. The only source of warmth is a smoky fire in the middle of the house, with smoke billowing, stinging your eyes and making your lungs cough. Your house does not truly belong to you. Nothing is yours. Not now. Not ever. For a medieval peasant, this was not misfortune. It was reality, and it was all most people ever knew. Nowadays, we romanticize this era. We imagine fields under the moonlight and a simple life, people living in harmony with nature, gathered around wooden tables to share warm meals. But the truth is much darker and harsher. The life of a medieval peasant was a daily struggle against both visible and invisible forces, in a world built to keep you in your place. Almost everyone you know, neighbors, friends, family, is tied to land owned by someone else, usually a local lord who considers everything in his territory, including you, his property. The system was rigged from the start. Only about 1 in 20 peasants could own a small piece of land in their lifetime. For the vast majority, your hands would till the soil, but the harvest would never truly belong to you. Your plots of land are not even close to each other. Instead of a neat farm, you are assigned a few narrow strips scattered across the fields in the village. Moving between them can mean walking miles every day. Your feet, often bare or wearing rough makeshift sandals, have become calloused, but never invulnerable. Every step reminds you that the world doesn't care how comfortable you are. Occasionally, you can use common land to graze livestock or gather firewood, but that can be taken away at any time if the landlord needs more pasture or simply decides to fence it off, locking up the few freedoms you have left. Stepping into the house of a medieval farmer, you would immediately realize that the word shelter is a generous term. Your house might be just a single room, woven from wooden frames, mud, and animal dung, roofed with straw. Rain seeps through the roof and runs down the walls, pooling on the dirt floor to form a dirty, foul-smelling mud under your feet. When the wind blows, it shakes the walls and occasionally tears parts of the roof apart. Rats, bugs, and insects thrive in these conditions. They are not just pests, they are part of your living environment, as unavoidable as the cold that seeps into the house every winter. No matter how dilapidated your house is, it still needs continuous maintenance. No one else will fix it for you. Broken beams, leaking roofs, broken doors, all will have to wait until you can find the time or materials to repair them yourself. Every task you delay brings more discomfort and danger. Some repairs you simply cannot afford or are unable to do, so you learn to live with the deterioration. Eating is a lesson in scarcity and monotony. The typical menu hardly changes with the seasons: dense, coarse bread made from rye or barley, overly thin vegetable porridge that is not filling enough, weak, sour, or bland beer due to poor brewing. Forget fresh fruit or meat. For many, meat only appears on the table a few times a year, usually only when an animal dies or on rare holidays. By midwinter, stored food dwindles down to meager rations. Many children do not survive the first hungry months. Losing a fifth or more of young children is not uncommon in a bad year. Malnutrition marks everyone. Teeth wear down from chewing hard bread containing crushed stone fragments. Bones become soft and crooked due to vitamin deficiency. People are smaller, weaker, their bodies constantly drained by hardship. Agricultural tools only provide the most basic assistance, and often fail at critical moments. Your extremely important plow is mainly made of wood, with some farmers having to share a single iron plow blade among many families. When it breaks, weeks of labor can be lost as the fields go untilled at the worst possible time. Harvesting tools quickly become dull, and you have to spend as much time sharpening them as using them. Every task requires repetitive twisting motions, swinging, bending, pushing, that year after year bring your body closer to permanent injury. Water taken from local streams or wells, brought back in buckets weighing 60, 80, or 100 pounds each day just to keep your family and livestock alive. Of course, there is no plumbing system, just the relentless work of carrying, storing, and hoping the water is clean enough not to make you sick. But the greatest burden is not physical. It is the lack of control over your own fate. If you are a serf, and most were, you cannot leave, cannot marry without paying a fee, cannot choose your job, and certainly cannot dream of a better life for your children. Education is out of reach for you. Reading and writing mean nothing when your work is to extract life from harsh land. The law does not belong to you, and justice depends on the will of the Lord. Disputes, taxes, even your very presence can be challenged or punished by the landowner or their representatives. At best, you endure. At worst, you rebel and face the consequences. And yet, all of this, hard labor, miserable food, constant repairs, inevitable poverty, is just background noise compared to the violent upheavals of weather and fate. Every season is a gamble, and you have nothing to fall back on if you lose. A wet spring floods the fields, drowning the seeds. A hot and dry summer withers them before they can ripen. Hail, wind, and pests frequently arrive and wreak havoc. Early autumn frost can mean nothing to harvest and a near-starvation winter. If you survive a bad year, the second year could be the end. Hunger and famine are frequent, ruthless guests, remembered through many generations. When disaster strikes, whether crop failure, disease, fire, or war, there is no safety net. Your family, your village, your whole world can be transformed by just one failed harvest or an outbreak of disease. Disease is always present. Drinking water is often contaminated by human or animal waste. Flies and insects carrying pathogens freely roam your house and food storage. Lice and fleas, so common as to be unnoticed, spread fever and suffering. Your body will harbor intestinal worms from a young age, taking away the little nutrition you can absorb. Medical help, if available, is limited to herbal remedies, folk tales, and prayers, rarely effective, often harmful. For women, the most natural act, giving birth, is as dangerous as any battle. 1 in 5 mothers does not survive this ordeal, and many others suffer lifelong disabilities. You have been working since you were a child. As soon as you could stand steadily, you were made to do housework, fetching water, taking care of geese, chasing crows away from the fields, and by the age of 8 or 9, the work became even more strenuous. By 12, you were expected to shoulder the work alongside adults. You age quickly. Arthritis, injuries, and chronic pain reduce a lifetime of labor to only 30, maybe 40 years if you are lucky. Your world is very small, and the chance for you to see beyond your village is even smaller. Most medieval peasants never traveled more than a few miles from where they were born. Their hopes, fears, and joys were all tied to familiar faces and unchanging landscapes. Even a trip to a town a few miles away was rare, requiring time, permission, and a compelling reason. However, despite everything, there is still a strange kind of endurance. The relationship with neighbors is very deep. Shared hardships become the foundation of community survival. Religious festivals, fairs, and small ceremonies bring rhythm to a life full of adversity. You can sing after the harvest season, or tell stories by the fire on long, dark winter nights, your breath rising in the cold air. These moments do not erase the pain, but they make it bearable. So, when you imagine yourself as a medieval farmer, don't just ask whether you could do the job, but ask whether you could endure the relentless wear, the complete lack of control, the constant threat of hunger, injury, and loss. It was a life where your body and spirit were tested daily, and the only certainty was struggle. The world of the medieval farmer was not one of peace or simplicity, but a relentless perseverance against a system and a natural world that was always against you. The next time you dream of the good old days, remember the truth. If you survived, you wouldn't become strong but hardened, shaped and scarred by a life that most today can hardly imagine.